And a good morning to you. Welcome to the Daybreak Show. I've always been a coffee and a pipe pairing person, but never a tea and a pipe pairing person. Pretty darn good. So this is where I hike to the trailhead and then just start my path. So attach a date to all of your goals and do whatever it takes to reach those goals. Just be relentless. Remember, the word for 2017 is relentless. You don't know my background. I've struggled with this weight my entire life. Good morning. Welcome to the Daybreak Show. I am the Sultan. We'll get started, but first, coffee.
I love that. Hello, and welcome to the Bunny Interviews. This is my dear friend, George Bruno.
Nice to be here. Thank you for inviting. Thank you for the invite. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, we go back a long way. Not as long
We
as
do.
we go back with other people, but I still feel blessed to have had you in my life for over 5 years now, which is kind of crazy.
It's been over 5 years. Yeah, I think we first talked in maybe 2017, something like that. Yeah.
Isn't that incredible? I just love it.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this morning. I was thinking what has drawn me to you specifically, consistently for all these years, is that you are truly a multifaceted individual, which always intrigues me because I get, I like to always have my hands in like 15 different things. And I feel like you're the same way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like the worst thing that could happen would be for you to be bored.
Thou shalt not be bored. Absolutely.
Exactly. I think that you're fascinating, and I have no doubt in my mind that whoever tunes in today, live or after the fact, will walk away learning something, taking something that maybe they hadn't thought about or given enough thought to, and I think applying a lot of neat lessons to their lives. So I'm excited for you to shed a little wisdom on us.
Nice.
No
Thank
pressure.
you. Thanks.
No pressure.
Yeah. Of course.
Okay, I have to start because I'm very curious, because you are, more mature, let's say.
Yeah.
What were you like as a teenager? I'm dying to know the George Bruno, like
Total
18.
shy, hiding behind my parents.
Were you really?
Yeah. Total spurg. Total shy. Not quite special ed. Nothing against special ed, but I was in remedial classes all through school, and I don't get things the first time I understand them. There is a curse of the high IQ, and that's because there's a very low EQ. Emotionally, I'm just not as up there as I am intellectually. So that was always a difficult issue for me. And I'm a late bloomer, as like I said to my dad. He said to me once, I said, "But Dad, I'm a late bloomer." And he said, "You're more like a bloomin' idiot." And I had the kind of father that didn't have an editing system at all. It just like went from brain to mouth. It wasn't like there wasn't like a part of the brain that stopped things. It's like when I went through a recent breakup, and he says, "Go ahead."
Do you feel like having a father being raised like that made you more kind of aware of what was coming out of your mouth? Because you seem like a very thoughtful, like you really gauge what you're saying and the way it's presented.
There's two types of fathers. There's the kind of father that is the kind of father that teaches this is how you should not be. And then there's the kind of father that like sits down in the easy chair and lights up a pipe and says, "Come here, son. Let's talk about what ails you. What troubles you." My dad recently, so I go through this breakup, and he's like, "Yeah, she's probably fucking someone."
Thanks, Dad.
I'm like,
All
yeah,
the kids say
exactly.
that too, but
Yeah. And it just like, really? Okay. All right. Nothing like, man, that must be hard, son. Boy, that, I went through that once when I was young and I know how you feel, man. And,
none of that.
I have found that, if you do this, this, and this, it might help things and whatever. But no, she's fucking someone. No questions asked. I'm like, okay.
Man.
And I grew up like that. So instantly it's like from 0 to negative in about half a second. Crazy.
Man.
So I had to fight
Balance.
negativity.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no balance. Whereas if I could sum up my father's words in one sentence, it would be, she's probably fucking somebody else. If I could sum up my words to my kids, it would be this: I love you and I believe in you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I don't have 100 messages for my kids. I have one message. And no matter what they do, no matter what they say, there's nothing they can do to make me love them more. There's nothing they can do to make me love them less. I have one message for my children, and that is, I love you and I believe in you. Dad, I didn't do so well on my report card. That's okay, because I love you and believe in you. Dad, I did so great. I'm on the honor roll. Oh, that's awesome. I love you and I believe in you. So one day when I'm no longer here on this earth, the one thing that will come out of their mouth is this: when someone says, so what kind of dad did you have? The only thing that they can say is, he loved me and believed in me. That's it.
Love that.
There is no other
Do you
message.
think that's the best? What would be the best piece of parenting advice? Do you think that's it? The best piece of parenting advice, or fatherhood advice from a father at least?
Yeah, I love you and believe in you no matter what. Like,
That's
you
great.
can't screw up. You can't screw up enough for me to not like you.
That's awesome. I love
Simple
that.
as that. Yeah.
I love that. So you were an introvert, which actually really surprises me, because you've been an MC, you've been very much like in front of crowds and always been a speaker. You've done a lot of acting and speaking engagements and documentaries, all kinds of incredible things that you would not think of from someone who's a self-proclaimed introverted kind of, slow burn kind of kid.
Yeah. It was
How did that come
purposely
about?
exposing myself to pain and discomfort. Simple as it. It's no different than the guys that take ice baths.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
It's like right now, taking an ice bath would be sheer hell for me. It would just be like, I see these guys like fill up like one of them cow troughs with ice and water, and they just go in and they dunk. And I'm like, holy shit, that must like be insane. I used to be like that with crowds of people.
Yeah.
I mean, like, oh, I got to go in front of people. Oh shit, I have to socialize. Like, ouch. So I would force myself to do it.
I love
And
that.
like, regarding being on stage, like when you're on stage, there's always bright light. There's always this light bar in front of the stage. And anyone who's ever been on stage knows this. You can't see past like the first or second row. And that's the only thing that has saved me. If I saw a couple thousand people in an audience, I'd probably like totally freeze up. But it's a good thing. I can only see like one row, maybe a second row. And when I speak, I don't speak to the crowd. I speak to people in the first or second row, and that's it. That's my technique. That is my technique.
It's a good way to get through. It's worked well for you.
Mm-hmm.
So you are absolutely prolific on YouTube. I mean, it's amazing the amount of content that you're able to produce with great thoughtfulness and insight and just depth. There's nothing surface on your channel, and I've always adored that. How do you do that? What is your secret?
First thing is, it's at my kitchen table. So I wake up in the morning at 4. I wake up every morning at 4 o'clock. So my studio literally is my kitchen.
I love
and
it.
I literally set up my phone on a tripod. I have like a little lapel mic that I put on. And the reality is, I just start, I make coffee first. And then, as to not, like when I was married, I'll never forget stirring my coffee with a spoon, at 4 o'clock in the morning, and it sounds like a fire bell.
Yeah.
And I remember my wife yelling downstairs, "Enough with the stirring!" So
now you do the chopsticks.
So I go and I get these wooden chopsticks. I'm like, oh, they're real quiet. And I just started stirring the coffee with chopsticks. And someone said, "Why do you use chopsticks?" Because everyone thinks like there's something esoteric about what I do.
Yeah.
And I do. I put 3 to 5 clues in every single show that I do. There's 3 to 5 subliminal clues that I do not reveal at all. And they're all visual, and people have to kind of guess what they are. Some guess right, some guess wrong. But I started stirring the coffee with chopsticks because I didn't want to wake people up. And I've been doing it for 20 years. So someone says, "Why do you use chopsticks?" And at that moment, I thought, okay, here's a good chance to bullshit.
The vortex
And I
method.
said, it's actually the vortex method, because I put them like in a V. And I said, it's the only true way to optimize the taste of the coffee at the molecular level.
No, you have to say it seriously like you do in the video, at the molecular level.
Yes, it goes like this. Stirring the coffee with chopsticks, using the vortex method, the only true way to optimize the taste of your coffee. And then I got to tap them twice at the molecular level. Good morning. Welcome to the Daybreak Show. We'll get started, but first coffee. And then that's how I start. But I have hundreds upon hundreds, if not thousands, of emails of people saying, "Oh my God, I tried the vortex method and my coffee actually does taste better." And I'm like,
really?
Okay.
You're trying to not wake up the girl that's in bed right now.
It's crazy. Yeah, exactly. So what's funny is, the power of suggestion is amazing. Is absolutely amazing. So there's like thousands of people all over the world. I had one girl write me and say, "My boyfriend watches your show every day. I want to do something really special for him for Christmas. Will you send a signed pair of chopsticks? I'll tell you his name." So I got a pair of chopsticks. I signed my name on it, like, to John from George, happy vortexing or something like that, and sent them to her. And that was like his stocking stuffer one year. And he was just so excited. It was like the best gift he ever got. So I get funny requests like that.
That's fun. I get funny requests too, but they're all for nudes, so that might be different. I want to talk about one of your latest videos, but this is something that we have already dug into a little bit off camera, and I think it's too critical not to really dive into. So speak to the beloved wife versus the girlfriend. And you just go. We will go wherever you want to with this, because it's such a strong topic that I think that everyone needs to have a real depth of understanding. Yeah.
Too many men treat girlfriends like wives. Then they wonder why there's no wives. No one wants to be a wife. With being a wife comes special privileges. And I'm not talking about like a state marriage. I don't care if you have Winnie the Pooh marry you. If he's the officiant at the wedding, it doesn't matter to me. Right. But a ceremony of people that you love and that love you and that you share your commitment to them, because if shit ever goes down, those are the people who will come to help you. Mm-hmm. Those are the people that will take your wife aside, that will take the husband aside and say, "Hey, look, let's rethink some things. Don't be so fast to move out. Don't be so fast to pack your stuff. And let's work things out." But there are privileges to being a wife. Now, I know there's so many anti-marriage and anti-wife videos out there. There's actually more than there are pro-marriage and pro. True. Yeah. And I feel like it's about 80-20, and I'm one of the 20 about 3 years ago, I became open to marriage again after almost 20 years of divorce. Bitter divorce. And I had a good marriage. I had a shitty divorce. People say, what?
What was the turning point about 3 years ago that kind of took you from kind of a player mindset in some ways, right?
Yeah.
To being open to it again?
I was born to be a husband and a father. Simple as that. That's as natural as breathing. It's as natural as eating, sleeping. It's natural for us to be parents. You know, we were born, our sexual apparatus, your number one purpose with your sexual apparatus is to make babies. The second purpose is have fun with them.
Yeah.
I always say God didn't have to make sex feel fun. It could have just been insert A into B, and 9 months later, a baby is born. It's just that the fun and the pleasure gives us incentive to create life. I mean, God's first commandment, everyone thinks the 10 commandments regarding commandments. Actually, the first real commandment was be fruitful and multiply.
That's right.
And I take that seriously. So I feel like I was born to be a father and a husband, and I went on a 20-year detour and turned my bedroom into a revolving door, and just got tired of washing sheets every night and tired of pulling the blonde hair girls out of the, blonde hair girl's hair out of the hairbrush so the brown hair girl didn't see it, and checking the backs of doorknobs, because women leave clues like underwear on the back of doorknobs, and they love taking off their earrings and putting them on your nightstand. And I have the far nightstand top drawers filled with earrings. I even forget whose earrings they are.
Right.
To this day. It's ridiculous. So, I had some pretty crazy experiences. I mean, I did a video on wearing a cross. I don't know if you saw that one. And it was, I was on this girl. I always wore a cross my whole life. Mm-hmm. And when I became more degenerate, I'll say degenerate. That's what I will say, degenerate, because love had nothing to do with it. Like Tina Turner said, what's love got to do with it? I remember just kind of like pumping away on this woman, and then I looked down and my cross was dangling in her mouth, and she'd go and like get it out of her mouth. And then I said, that's it. I'm never wearing a cross ever again. That's it. And I haven't worn a cross in years, over a decade.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to do that. I've been at women's houses where I'm, just doing my thing. Then I look up and there's like a crucifix hanging on the wall above the bed. And I'm like, hi, Jesus.
Yeah.
So there were some things that just didn't mesh for me.
Right.
So, and that was when I just said, you know what? I might be getting older, but I was born to be a husband and a father, and I'm going to follow through on that. After this, 2-decade detour. Crazy,
and
right?
It's gotten us to where we are now. So tell us more about. I'm not trying to. That was a detour. I told you I would shut up, and then I didn't.
Yeah. The beloved wife versus the girlfriend. Men treat girlfriends like their wives, and they shouldn't. There should be, not only should, people say, why buy the cow when you get the milk for free, but why marry the man if you get all the wifely privileges?
Right.
Girlfriends go to Outback. Wives go to Fleming's Steakhouse and Capitol Grill. Simple as that. Girlfriends use the powder room on the first floor. Wives have their own bathroom up on the second floor. Girlfriends get, I got a business trip next week. I'll be back. I'll talk to you whenever. Wives get, pack your bags. We're going to Vancouver.
Yeah.
We're staying in a nice hotel. We're going to eat in a restaurant there every night. And men pull me aside and say, boy, you sure are lucky. And my response is, yes, God certainly has blessed me. That's the difference between a wife and a girlfriend. I mean, there is proverbs that say her children rise and call her blessed. There's not a lot of women today whose children rise and call her blessed. The
Right.
wife has more things going into her vagine than babies coming out. The modern woman, girlfriend, her breasts get suckled on by boyfriends every 2-3 years and never feed a baby.
Right.
So
right.
it's literally inversion of the creation. We were meant to be fruitful and multiply. The wife gets, you're not cooking tonight, honey. Be ready at 6:30 because we have reservations at Fleming's at 7. Wear that black dress that I like and put your hair up.
Yeah.
That's what the wife gets. But girlfriends expect that now.
Yeah.
And that's how they value guys and rate guys. He took me here, he took me there. He pays this bill for me, he pays that bill. With being a wife, there comes special privilege. And we've inverted that. Now we give that to girlfriends. And then they don't want to marry us. And then girls pick amongst the guys that will take them on the best vacations.
Yeah.
Whereas,
well, like you said, girls will break up, bottom line, because they think they can do better.
all breakups happen because of one thing. She thinks that she can do better. And I encourage women all the time on all my social media platforms, stay with your OG, man. There's no one like your OG. No one's going to treat you like your OG. No one can learn and relearn how to treat you like your OG. Do you really want to train a man from scratch?
Exactly.
Because just average Joe is going to drive you like a rented car,
right,
and then toss you aside. That's how life works.
It's true. And
being a girlfriend is auditioning to be a wife.
Right.
That's what I believe. You're auditioning to be a wife. That's what courtship is. It's not like having a girlfriend is not just like having a mini marriage. It's nothing like it.
So how do you feel like what do you feel like the best kind of tactics for men to find the women who will, what level of preview of the wifely side do you think is best for that kind of proving herself to be, ready for the next step?
Very good question. I always say vet women. It has nothing to do with her body, because bodies are going to change. It has nothing to do with her looks. Looks are going to change. I mean, right now, I got a white beard and gray hair. I used to have black hair and a black beard. I was a solid 5. Now I'm a solid 3.5, and proud of it. But everything fades.
Age, George, haven't you heard?
Well, if you read Twitter, you would think that women age like milk and men age like wine. But I will tell you that whenever you've talked to an old couple and you hear the old guy say, honey, you're still as beautiful today as you were on the day that I married you. Like, that's love. That's something. That is something. When I go to reunions and homecomings and all the women want to come and take pictures with me because all their husbands are fat and in what's the popular term, relaxed fit clothing, which just means the next size smaller. That's all it is. A relaxed fit 36 pants really is just they're just 38s.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I go to a homecoming and about 8 women come up and say, hey, let's get a picture with George. They're all around me. I'm smiling, got my arm around them all. I look at that picture when I get back home and I see, oh my God, holy crap. I nailed every single one of those.
When they were 18.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous. And I'm thinking, oh, I feel so sorry for their husbands who just think that they just want to hang out with that fun guy, George, from college. And I just went through women like a hot knife through butter. I didn't care. It was even before people started using the phrase notch count and body count. We're talking, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that it's all in vain. I can tell you I still go to sleep by myself every single night. I wake up by myself every single night, and I miss a warm body next to me. So I can serve as an example of what not to do in those areas, because I don't know if I'll end up being paired up with somebody again. I don't know that. I don't know. I have no control over that.
Do you think that there's a season for that kind of behavior, though?
I was a very high T young man, and I used to say that the gorilla is in the driver's seat. Can you imagine a gorilla driving a car? He just pressing every button and going crazy with the steering wheel and stepping on the gas, stepping on the brake, and just going nuts. And that's usually from about 20 till about 35. And then from 35 till about 45, the gorilla is in the passenger seat trying to grab the wheel and steer the car.
Yeah.
And then after 45, 50, 55, 60, and now I'm 63, the gorilla's in the back seat, just making suggestions. As opposed to, yeah, exactly. As opposed to grabbing the wheel and stepping on the gas. So it's all still there, as they jokingly say, there's snow on the roof, but there's fire in the furnace.
There you go. I like that. That's hot. So how does a woman go from being a girlfriend to a beloved wife? What are your best tips for the women that listen to you and pay attention to your content?
Act like a lady. Act like a lady in public. You know, behind closed doors, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But in public, you know, people are looking. You know, did you ever go out to dinner and you look at other couples and they're not even speaking a word to one another? And you comment to each other and you go, oh my God, it's like, look at those people not even talking to each other. And to me, dinner with somebody is a beautiful chance to just talk about your goals and dreams and your future, you know, and talk about the day. And if it's, you know, if it's him that's kind of like leading the evening, you know, honey, how was your day? Well, this happened. I got this phone call and this bill came in and oh, wow, that must have been tough. And he shows some empathy, you know, and if there's something I can do to help, just, you know, let me know. Just call me, text me, let me know. Don't ever have a day like that again, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, if the washer breaks and everything starts flooding, you know, just make the call. Just do it, you know? Give her support. That's the big difference between girlfriend and wife. That's what couples need to do. Now, I can teach you how to get women, the average man. I can't tell you how to keep them. My coaching, I do two types of coaching. I help people get unstuck in life, love, career, and business. I help guys break up. I say date long, marry slow, divorce fast. And the reason is most of the trauma and chaos that men go through is when husband and wife both hire lawyers and the divorce battle begins. That's when all the trauma sets in. That's when all the bad attitude, the black pill, the nihilism comes in, is during that process. So I think go ahead.
Oh, speak to finding a partner that you build with, like finding a woman who is a builder, is a relationship builder, is a home, you know. I teach young men to vet a woman, and I'm the first person I know that has ever brought this up, to vet a woman for her ability and propensity to want to build. Build what? Build something that will outlive them. First thing, children. Second thing might be a foundation. Another thing might be a ranch or some type of dedicated property with a garden on it, that kind of thing. Some type of center for healing or something, anything like that. Yeah.
Something that will outlive you. And all while there's children as well, because your children are the ultimate expressions of your love.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. How rare do you think that kind of woman is on her own? Do you think that it requires a man of this caliber who has this goal in mind to lead her into that? Or do you believe that they exist on their own? And
No, men don't get the woman they deserve. They get the woman they create. Simple as that.
yeah,
And that sounds almost dictatorial, but it's not. When a man leads in love, a woman submits in love. She literally is subject to his love. A lot of people get jammed up with women submit to your wives, women submit to your husbands, and all that really refers to is be subject to your husband's love. Let him love you. We don't know how to pick out gifts. Men do not know how to pick out gifts. We don't know how to do it. But when we do, you can squash that behavior and make him never buy you another gift if you just treat it wrong.
it's true.
It's one of those things.
Man.
Men wring their hands about the gifts that they want to get for their women, so they just go and buy jewelry, thinking, all women love diamonds or gold or like whatever. Like no thought goes into it. They just write a check. That's why I say when you build something that outlives you, it's more than just writing a check for something. It's rolling up your sleeves. What if when the kids are grown, you forfeit Thanksgiving and both of you go and work at a soup kitchen together, and you do that for the rest of your lives? Things like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's important.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I was on the phone with my father just this morning, which is typical of us every morning. But I'm an only child. We moved all over the country growing up. We were always, he was an executive in the jewelry industry, so we moved a lot. And just this morning, he said, I wish we had had more experiences that were just experiences. We have a running joke in our family that we don't travel anywhere. We just move there, because that's very much what we always did. And I said, Dad, I got to see cultures that no one that I, knew growing up had ever seen. I got to see places that no one had ever seen except in history books. I mean, I had the greatest upbringing ever. And I said, now I did want to go to space camp, but other than that, I would have been bored to tears at space camp. But, he did a great job of doing exactly what you're talking about. And that was, he's a builder. He's building that lineage that outlives him. Yeah. I love that. And
experiences.
I'm sure your children feel that on a very deep level as well.
I still get texts from my daughter, remember when we went to here, or remember when we did this or that.
I love it.
To this day. Yeah.
I love that. That's awesome. That is awesome. So how do men, because I do believe that there's a crossover point, particularly men who weren't raised with, let's say, fathers like you, who weren't just naturally taught these lessons. How do men transition from kind of being young and stupid, having the gorilla drive the car, into this level of actually wanting to not just have a hot chick on their arm, but have a woman who will truly create something that will last generations with them? What's the best advice that you give men who are truly thinking that there's more to life than just fucking the latest hot girl? Yeah.
Well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Your grandfather said that. My grandfather said that. And I think our parents modeled for us certain things that our behaviors, literally 80% of our behaviors just happen automatically because of what we were taught. My dad was a player all the way. The meme went around a few years ago. it showed a man in white shoes. It said, if your father wore these, you probably have siblings that you never met.
I love that.
So I grew up like that. So I went from, remedial classes to being Playboy real quick.
Yeah.
Started lifting weights, got jacked, got real big, became a bodybuilder at 18.
Yeah.
And that's all she wrote. Then I just became like a snowplow, for years.
Right. So how do you talk to men who want to make that transition, want to build something, have the inkling of it, but don't necessarily know how to get there?
Part of what I teach is, I lived much of my life not knowing what to do and making the wrong decisions. And I want them to learn from that. On my body, I actually bear scars of making bad decisions.
Yeah.
And hopefully I impart that wisdom to the younger men. I get letters every single week. You're like the father that I never had. I'm the father that I never had.
Yeah.
I teach
Right.
things that my father never taught me, ever. I have 80-year-old men. I'll show you what I got here. This guy right here with his daughters.
Uh-huh.
He's in his 80s. He said to me, "You're the father that I never had."
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
I love it. I love that. So
I'm happy to be the father that they never had. I'm happy. I noticed that in certain Eastern cultures, like in India, they call you uncle. They don't call you dad. In America, they call you dad and father. In India, Iran, the more Persian cultures, they say uncle. Uncle, can you help me? That's what they call me.
Huh. That's awesome. Well, and how neat to get those kinds of compliments and gifts. They just drive home the point that you're on the right path. Yeah. Now, did you ever? What kind of made you get into relationships? Kind of the coaching that you do. What was the path like to actually taking you from living it to teaching it and mentoring it? Yeah,
back in the 80s when I was a young man, one of my favorite scholars was John Bradshaw, and he came up with a thing called family systems therapy, where you can't touch one person in that family without touching everybody. He used to have a giant mobile on stage, and it was like mother, father, and then 3 kids. And he says, watch what happens when I touch one of these. And they were life-size figures. It was hanging alongside of him as he was teaching. He would just touch one of the figures and it would start rocking.
Right.
And then the other one would start rocking. Then the other one would start rocking. Then the parents would start moving. Then the whole thing would start spinning around. Mm-hmm. You can't affect one of those people without affecting all of them.
Right.
So that's why we need well-balanced, fully functioning people. If you have one black sheep of the family, it affects everybody. The one drug addict, the one alcoholic, the one crazy one, the one who keeps making the bad decisions. Everybody needs to surround that person with love and help them with their stability. Society used to do that. I remember you'd be playing baseball and your baseball would go through a neighbor's window. That neighbor would bring you back by your earlobe to your father, and then he'd transfer you to your father, and then your father would just, give you a little whooping. These days, obviously, you don't touch another person's child. You don't do that now. But back in that day, in the 60s and 70s, your neighbor could correct your son or your daughter, and you welcomed it. Yeah. And your mother would say something like, "Wait till your father gets home." That kind of thing.
That phrase is uttered any longer.
No, not at all. Well, there is no father. There is no father. So what happens is John Bradshaw said he fantasized when he was when he was a younger guy in his 20s and he got his degrees and such, he just pictured himself sitting in his living room, the fireplace roaring with a bunch of grandchildren sitting in front of him, and his sons and daughters in chairs sitting behind them. And he was just sitting there in his great chair, imparting wisdom to them, talking to each one of them. He says, and then I got to be an old man. And he goes, none of that happened. He goes, it was like the biggest letdown in the world. He goes, I couldn't do anything to get all my family together at once. Couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it. And it was almost like the Harry Chapin Cats in the Cradle thing. My boy grew up just like me. He was just like me. So what happens is there's a difference between the idealized family and the family in reality. And we all want a happy family. We all want to be able to rely on each other. But the reality is this one's fighting with this one over here. You know, this guy hasn't talked to his dad in 2 years. This person's mother, you know, she just kind of totally wrote off the son who's an alcoholic or a drug addict or whatever. Right. And families are blown up now. They're blown up. So that's why, like, I never grew up calling everybody brother and bro and brah. I never grew up giving anyone a hug. Never. I never shook hands with anyone. There wasn't any of that fake camaraderie. There wasn't even fist bumps. I grew up and it was like this. What's up? What's up? How you doing? Not bad. That was it. It wasn't like all this bro hug kind of stuff. That's about a 20, 25 year phenomenon because the family is gone. We used to get all that from the family. Right. From the family. You know, there was a time when a dad would come home from work, hang his hat up on the peg, take his jacket, you know, kind of like almost like Mr. Rogers, sit down in his chair, light his pipe, and the kids would sit around him with respect. How'd your day today? How'd your day go, son? Susie, how was your day today? Daddy, I drew this picture. Oh, wow, that is beautiful. That just doesn't exist anymore.
Do you think there's a turnaround? Do you think there's a possibility of any kind of return to the semblance of what once was? Do you think it's possible? It has to happen with us. We have to make that happen. If that's going to happen, it's going to happen in my home right here. Yeah. It happened when I said, I love you and I believe in you. When I decided to not criticize my children for their choices, to gently guide them, but always say, I love you and I believe in you. It started with me. And I hope it will continue with their children. But nothing's going to happen on a mass level. Society, I don't want to be too much of a black pillar about this and be a nihilist about it. But change happens at the local level. It's so important that everything happens in the home. But let's go even deeper. It happens with me personally. I have to change. I have to humble myself. I mean, for a while I had a really shitty reputation, and it took years to build that back up. Like, I really didn't care about what people thought about me. I really didn't care. The opposite side of that is you care too much about what people think, and then you do everything for other people. Right. So you have to strike a balance. Yeah. Yep. So I assume that your children are carrying these lessons on as well. I mean, you know, your oldest.
I would hope so.
Loving, I mean, your oldest having a wonderful, loving wife, and you know, slowly creating, you know, the next generations and in the future. You know, I just imagine that the lessons that you've imparted on them will just continue and grow, hopefully grow and expand.
My son lived at home till he was married. He did not go out and explore the world for 10 years. He lived at home till my daughter texted me last week and says, Dad, I want to be a wife and I want to be a mother. I said, I'll pray for you, sweetie. Let's make that happen. I don't want her to go out there and experience the world for 10 years.
Right.
And become a used car. I'm just not interested in that. You know, honey, whatever I can do, just let me know. I would do anything in the world for her. but she expressed to me that she wants to be a wife and a mother. 2 weeks ago, she did her hair. She has long hair like yours. She put curls in it. She put on makeup, mascara. And I'm like, oh my God, she's a lady. And she's making herself attractive. And I said, good for you, sweetie. I said, you look great. I said, you're going to make a nice wife for a nice man. And she says, I certainly hope so, honey. And I said, I really think that you're doing the right thing. I really think you're doing the right thing. I don't want you to move out and get experienced and all that. I said, you need to go from your parents' care, and me and her mother are not together, but she's living with her mother. But I do love the fact that she's living with her mother until she gets married.
Right. Yeah. Now, do you and your ex-wife do you co-parent? Do you feel like you co-parent well, or
No, we didn't. We did
like,
not
no,
co-parent.
no.
No, it was like I said, the chaos begins as soon as two people retain lawyers, and then everything, you take the long way around to everything.
Yeah.
I like I said, I had a good marriage, I had a crappy divorce. And that is when people really, really get hurt, is through the divorce process. And that's where they get cynical. And that's when they involve themselves with private logic and magical thinking, and they try to even the score cosmically. Like anytime I ever went through like a breakup, there were 6 women in my bed in the next week. That kind of thing. Oh yeah, I'll show them. You know what I mean? And I did a video on this last week about crazy women and angry men. There's nothing like, they say that's crazy in the head, crazy in the bed. When a man is angry, my God, he is the most insane lover. You get an angry woman and a crazy man. I mean, a crazy woman and an angry man together, and the sex is insane.
That's some
it is
sex
insane.
Right there.
they will break the headboard. That's it.
Yeah. So you've said that you are open to marriage again and things of that nature.
Yes.
You've truly come full circle. So
yes, I have.
How will you approach it differently?
Well, I'm very straightforward. I'm very, as Alan Roger Curry would say, very direct approach. I'm the kind of guy that just puts it out there and says, I want to be married again. And I asked that question on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, where I said, if you're looking for a spouse, why is everybody so coy about it? Why not just say it amongst the people that you communicate with the most? Why can't we just say it? I am looking to get married again.
Yeah.
And people know me. And
there's no one who knows you better
than
your social circle and the people who know you
correct.
best and that you live life with.
Correct. That's right. And that's what I want to do. That's what I put it out there, and I am wife hunting.
I love it.
Period.
You're like Elmer Fudd with his gun over his shoulder.
I'm going to get me a wabbit. That's it. That's kind of like how I live my life now for about the past 3-4 years. Is I am interested in being married, and of course everybody's warning me about it, and I'm like, I'm not that stupid, guys. Yeah. All right, there will be a prenup, and I'm not going to do it through the state. So get that through your head and shut up. Don't mention it again. But I want to build something, something more. I want to build something that outlives me. I want to create life, and I've got the body and the health to do it. Why not? I do not want to buy, a Lamborghini. I do not want to buy $40,000 watches. I'd rather have a kick-ass nursery. I'd rather have a great fenced-in backyard that my kids can play barefoot in the grass. That's what I want. I want Sunday dinners. Now, some people say that's not, you're being unrealistic. No, I'm not. I create the world that I want.
I love that.
Yeah.
So what is the best piece of universal relationship advice that you could give men, women, young, old? What do you think the most critical piece of the puzzle is?
Number one, take care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself. It really is, honey, I love you, but I love me that much more. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really, really what it's all about. Be clear with your intentions right from the get. How many people out there really, really want to be married, but they're so afraid to say it? Like, I'm not
Right.
afraid to say it. I'm not afraid to say it at all. And that's how I'm going to meet my wife, period. That's how I will meet my wife. I don't want it to be rolling the dice and hoping that it, what do they say? Wishing and hoping is not a strategy.
Right.
I am not using this strategy, keeping my fingers crossed in finding a wife. I know exactly what I want and I'm going for it, period. And I know exactly what my wife will be attracted to, and I am it.
Right. Right. And she's seeking you as well.
Correct. And she exists already. She's already out there.
Do you believe in soulmates?
No, I'm not a fan of soulmates.
Okay.
No, because I thought I married my soulmate. And then she said, "You're not the man that I married." I'm like, okay, well, you're not the woman I married. Thank God. We grow. We grow. It's like the River Jordan. Every time you step in it, it's a different river.
Yeah.
The river that you stepped in 5 minutes ago is like 100 yards down the river.
Yeah.
We change. We're constantly changing. As human beings, we change every 7 years. We go through this cellular replication where our bodies are different every 7 years.
Yeah.
I'm not the same person. No, I'm not the man you married. No, thank God.
What do you think of the idea of like a 7-year marriage, not renewal, but expiration?
I say 2 to 5 years. That's what I say. Have a finite time. Commit to a finite time and renew those vows. Not after 20 or 30 years, but renew the vows every 5 years. And be bulletproof for 5 years, and commit to just being anti-fragile and bulletproof for 5 years. Simple as that. That's what I believe.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Amazing. I love it. Just makes me want to talk more. I know that's hard to imagine.
Yeah, go ahead.
You are absolutely, I mean, I know you through Twitter, but you're absolutely prolific on YouTube. Where is the best place? Where do you prefer most for people to consume your content? YouTube.
Yeah. And there's thousands of videos and thousands of hours of teaching like this. Thousands, like literally thousands. You could watch a video of mine every single day for 10 years and not exhaust all of them.
It's impressive. It truly is a very impressive library.
Yeah. I created a body of work that will outlive me. That's what I did.
It's a good goal.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a good goal. And how do people reach you for coaching? Is your GeorgeBruno.com active right now?
It is not active right now. My web guy is not on that, and I am on him because of that.
I'm having trouble getting to it, and I thought maybe it was a user error.
Yeah, people can reach me at georgeabruno@gmail.com.
Awesome.
Simple as that. But I do have a domain. It's really kind of funny because one time I let my domain lapse, and another George Bruno got it, and he's an ambassador to Belize, and he lives in Connecticut. And I back ordered it, knowing human nature. All humans procrastinate. He procrastinated, and I got it back.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's great.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I love it. What is your favorite kind of client to work with?
The guy who feels stuck. It's like a guy that doesn't have tread on his tires, and they just keep spinning and spinning. So if I can get that guy to get out of the rut that he's in, that's pretty cool. I really like that. Yeah,
and people need that. And like Fort Worth and I say so often with clients, they'll say, who was I supposed to talk to about this? They have issues. Their friends aren't any help. Their other friends don't believe them anyway, that they're having these problems or these challenges. It's who are you going to talk to? This is,
Yeah.
it really is about getting unstuck. And I think there's just enough distance between to be a voice of reason and a trusted ear.
Yeah. And, it's not cheap, but neither is staying stuck.
Oh, staying stuck is very expensive.
Very expensive. It's ridiculous.
It'll cost a lifetime. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. People can stay in ruts for 10 and 20 and 30 years.
Easily. And they're happy there. I mean, they get to the point where that's home.
Absolutely. I've got people that have lost weight that don't even recognize themselves in the mirror. They have to do a double take in a mirror because they don't recognize the self that's not carrying an extra 100 pounds. And they go, wow, that's me. That's me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they haven't seen that person in 20 years.
Well, and the body dysmorphia, don't even get me started on fitness stuff, but the body dysmorphia is such that they truly do not recognize the person that they see. It's just
Absolutely.
incredible. I love that.
Absolutely.
But it is an example of just being stuck.
Yeah.
You're stuck in your habits, and it'll bite you in the ass, whether it's alcohol or fitness or nutrition or girls or bad parenting, whatever the case may be. I am so thrilled that you joined me today. I really, really
I am too.
Appreciate your time. I appreciate all the great content you put out, and I appreciate you trusting me to have you join me tonight. I did have to laugh, and I think that you will get a kick out of this because I believe we discussed this in 2017. But I have to laugh because I remember when I first came on the scene and you and I talked about it, nobody would have me anywhere near their stuff. Yep. And now it's nothing but girls on couches spewing the weirdest stuff, just like.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Like, well, I have to create my own show so that I can have these guys on my show.
That's important, and I'm impressed that you're doing that because that is a wave right now that I think you need to just grab your surfboard and make that happen because the time is right for it. This is the best time for you to explode right now. Absolutely.
I just need to be about 25 years younger, apparently, but that's okay.
No, that doesn't need to happen because I think people appreciate wisdom.
Thank you.
People appreciate wisdom. I think it's one of those things that I was doing a Bible study where in Proverbs chapter 1 it says, "Take wisdom and bind it around your neck like a necklace." It's like something that you wear and stays on you. You don't take it off.
Right.
And that's what wisdom is. And you have wisdom. Your years have brought you wisdom, and you personify wisdom. And women who are younger need to look to women who are older for wisdom. Women who've been there, done that.
Yeah.
A woman can call out another woman's BS faster than anyone else can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And whether it be to a younger woman or a younger guy, I think you play a unique role. I know I play a very unique role as kind of like a father figure to many women as well. I feel that I have many daughters around the world that I love and care for, and they write me saying, "I want a husband. How do I get one?"
I love that.
And that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. Thank you, George. Thank you. Thank you. If you are not already following George all over the place, George Bruno at Twitter, George Bruno at YouTube. I think it's George A. Bruno at Instagram. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
So jump on there, follow him, and get your daily, hourly, minute by minute dose of wisdom right there. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Thank you to George, and thank you to all of you. Until next time, I want you to win.